Hey guys, just wanted to make another quick video today. Just did one yesterday, so this won't be covering too much ground, but I do have a few things to talk about today. I mean, honestly, I have enough to talk about to make videos every day, probably, but um, yesterday I had talked briefly about how I was going to be upsizing my Libre to 21 and then 22 millimeters, potentially right away 22. My Libre is fairly large. Um, I said that if I did that, I would need to increase the size of my philtrum as well, just to kind of keep things in balance. So pretty well immediately after making that video, it kind of sunk in that I really haven't stretched my philtrum in quite a while. I think it's been, I don't know, what has it been? I think I made a video about it back in March, I want to say. Um, I had just achieved 10 millimeters, I think, which could easily have been enough were it not for the fact that like damn bridge piercing. Were it not for the fact that I keep stretching my Libre and I kind of like things to be similar in size. The Libre is always going to be bigger than the philtrum, but what I want is kind of like a half and half sort of thing. The philtrum is getting a little bit small in ratio, so we went to 11 millimeters with it. And honestly, it's just a lot of pain in there. I never like stretching my philtrum. Like immediately, it feels nice because it's bigger and bigger is better with piercings for me lately. Um, but it's always like, how far is too far? Not for the world, but for me, right? Um, I want to talk about the fact that when you live in your own skin with your own piercings and your own tattoos every day, you get rather used to them, and so do the people who live right next to you. But the people who see you just every now and then, they'll, well, every 6 months to a year, they'll kind of notice all at once, and it's a bigger deal to people who don't see you every day. And it's not so much that I'm thinking about other people's judgment as it is kind of realizing that when you live with yourself every day and you take it step by step, move by move, you don't really notice how large things are getting and looking the way that the world does. So, like, to me, this Libre piercing isn't that huge. Though, if I had have seen it in my lip maybe 2 years ago, I would have thought, oh, that's actually bigger than I wanted to go. Why didn't I stop? Like, that's too big. Um, it's funny how you gradually kind of get more and more comfortable with the size of piercings as you go, but also a little scary because I'm not really subject to the limits of society anymore, the way that people might assume, or the way that I might have been at one point. I've kind of achieved a point in my life where I'm kind of okay to do whatever I want. Like, I'm kind of okay to stretch a piercing as big as I want to, with no fear of anything going wrong because of it. Um, so too far isn't necessarily about what society will accept. It's about, at what point do we say that's enough? In my post today on Instagram, I said that I no longer believe in finished sizes or goal sizes, and that's truth. I really don't. I've said so many times that this is the last time I'm stretching this piercing, or this is as big as this one's going, and um, I just don't. I don't hold to it. I don't know. I think I need to set some limits, but it is tough to when you just want to keep progressing. It's probably a good thing. I'm considering, like I've always done, a light workout every day. I don't want to get super out of shape, and nothing personal for anyone else, but for me, I like to keep the shape that I'm in. So I do a light workout every day. But when my tattoo artist who's been doing all the black leaves, that need for progression is still going to be there, but I'm not going to be doing it as often with tattoos. So my ideal route is going to become one of like heavy fitness. Probably going to be bulking up quite a bit. Um, Easier said than done, but not so much for a guy like me, I don't think. I think what it is for me is just kind of deciding that it goes from tattooing and putting all my energy into tattooing, into still some energy into tattooing, and take the smaller amount of energy I'm putting into my fitness routines and stuff, and kind of upping that, and being more serious about meal plans and stuff. Uh, for I've had a few people in the past, they'll see my pictures of me topless. There's God knows how many of them, um, and they'll say things like, uh, "For a guy who has so many tattoos, you'd think you'd be in better shape." It's like, well, you'd be crazy to think that, because you would have to know how much time I spend healing. Uh, every week, I can't work out for a couple days a week, and that's perpetual. So really, I only work out 3 or 4 days a week. I try and get a good 20 minutes after work. But when you work 2 jobs and you're a parent, and I don't like to make excuses, but getting any amount of that in is tough. So I'm not giving myself a pass, though. Like I say, it's just about transferring the time I'm putting into one form into another, and seeing how that goes for me. I don't want to get huge, but definitely kind of more defined and bulkier than I am now. Uh, but yeah, I think it's important to do that as opposed to I have this addiction to progression. People always think it's an addiction to pain, and it's really more of an addiction to growing and evolving and changing. And I think that instead of stretching piercings to a point where I might one day think, why did I go that far? And then it's plastic surgery to go back down. And trust me, I'm nowhere near that point now. I'm quite happy with what I'm doing right now. But eventually, what if I'm not? What if I reach a point where I can't stretch anymore without it being too much for my own taste? What if this is 3 times the size? You know, I don't want to go all the way out to here with it. I mean, if you want to do that, fair enough. But I have to have other things to fulfill that personal growth. And it's something I've been aware of for a long time. It's not like this is the first time I've thought about it, but it is the first time I've talked about it. So yeah, I do plan on getting much more into like weightlifting and stuff like that. Um, I've got quite a few connections in that realm, like an exhaustive amount of connections. It's for me, it's more about tapping into it, and pretty well. I like as soon as I say go, it can start, and start like like well connected with fitness people. But um, for me, when I start doing something, I don't know if it's easy enough to tell, but when I get into something, I get really far into it. Like I can't just have one tattoo. I've got to have all the tattoos. I got to get tattooed every week. I can't just have a few piercings. I got to have a lot of piercings. So whenever I start doing something, moderation isn't much of a thing for me. I kind of go full in. And so it's kind of being aware of what that's going to do to my life. I'll be sore for different reasons now. I'll be growing and changing in different ways. That kind of thing. It's just about realizing what I'm in for and then committing. And I am a very committed person to just about anything that interests me. So that's something else that I'm going to be pursuing soon. But yeah, the philtrum stretch was a bit painful for sure. I had duck lip for about an hour, but post length is great. The piece I'm wearing is long enough to support swelling. On the inside, it's T-back now. It's no longer a circular post. The next size is up. I have a wide shaped one, so I could have it more of a wide shape, like my labrae, if I so choose next, or just continue with the same circular shape that I've been wearing. I actually don't know how good the wide would look in my philtrum, especially with the labrae as a wide. Something I'm a little apprehensive about. Like I can't even really get a good mental image of what it would be like. It just doesn't. I think it's because the lower lip is more pronounced that the wide seems to make more sense to me. But anyway, who knows what I'll do with that? God knows I could say one thing and end up doing it and loving it, right? So It's as easy as putting the jewelry in and then taking it out if I don't like it and putting in the same size circular plug. That's another thing I'll quickly mention while I'm on the topic is um, though your lip gets used to a certain shape, and so my lip has been wearing wides for a long time, my labrae. Um, that doesn't mean that I couldn't stick a same size circular uh, labrae in or a regular plug. It just would be a little uncomfortable for maybe a few days, and then it would be the same. But for the most part, the reason I don't wear regular plugs in my labrae is because you don't really want to increase the height so much of your jewelry and your lip piercing because it can irritate your gums. And yeah, I just like the T-backs because they kind of angle away from the lip with a circular post. And in there, it doesn't have the same kind of comfortability for me. Um, to each their own, though. I've known people who've worn regular plugs in their labraes and been fine. It's just, it's an aesthetic and a comfort thing for me. But yeah, uh, so, so yeah, it was a success. I did try and stretch my philtrum to 11 millimeters another time, and it just wasn't going. And it was after you've been banging away at something for a while, it gets pretty swollen. So it's not, sometimes you have to just back off and let things breathe before you keep trying to push something through. Like, there are a lot of times I've gone to stretch a piercing when my anatomy just said no, it's not ready yet. And then to continue, you just increase the swelling, the inflammation, you risk all kinds of complications. Sometimes if you're stretching a piercing and it's just too hard to do it, just let it be. You can always come back to it, try again. I could have easily given up this time too. There was a bit of inflammation there and a bit of struggle with it, but I could feel the jewelry moving through, and then it was just a matter of dealing with the pain of it. And I'm pretty good about that. Like, once I know that it's gonna happen, it's just about holding on. It's not about oh, will this go through or is it ready? It's, yeah, it is ready. It's gonna work. It's a bit of a pinch at that point. And then ice water and uh, took a little bit of ibuprofen right away for swelling, and it was actually only swollen for, yeah, like I said, about an hour, and then it was good. And then, like, today it's completely normal. It's actually a little bit interesting. I have never had T-back ends in my philtrum before, but I find them quite comfortable. They, again, go with the shape of the lip. Instead of being circular and kind of coming down, it just goes straight across, and it kind of feels like they really are built for these areas, even for the upper lip. Yeah, anyway, that's all I got today about that. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, setting your own limits and being aware that we're not always getting the 180 on us. Sometimes you do have to rely on other people a little bit just to gauge their reactions, so that you can kind of take an outside look at yourself. Like, have I gone too far? Because I would never know. It's really hard for me to know anymore. It's a growing comfort, which is, one last note, is the same reason I never recommend scalpeling. Some people will get their labrae scalpeled or whatever to a certain size, and I just don't think that that's a great idea. I think you should gradually increase the size as you increase your comfort, so you know what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like, and what it's going to be like to live like that. For example, when I'm drinking like a hot drink, sometimes the inside around my lip is a little bit tender. If you're drinking like a super hot coffee or something, for me, I love my food and my drinks like burning hot. But it tends to be a little bit sensitive to extreme heat, which is something that you wouldn't know. There's, like, I always say this, but there's really no handbook on extreme modification stuff. There's no one that has all these answers, and there's lots of people who've done this stuff, but they're not necessarily the most approachable all the time, which is part of why I'm doing all of these videos. Just, if people watch all of this stuff, they'll get a lot of my anecdotal wisdom on it, I guess you could call it. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's been a long day. But I did want to make a quick video just to talk about the newly upgraded, we'll call it 11 millimeter philtrum. So there it is. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this video or any of my other videos, be sure and check me out on Instagram at ephemeraremy, and have a good day.